Welcome to the latest episode of KapVista Klips. Today, I'm really excited about speaking with Tony. Tony, welcome. How are you?
Hi, good. Thanks, Dan.
I'm excited about speaking to you because I am a big fan of your products. I am a big fan of your drinks. Now, we'll get into the story, but I just want to make note that I've tried a fair few alcoholic drinks in the sugar-free section, and every single one of them tastes artificial. Doesn't taste right. There's something not right about it. Either they're more soda water and that just a hint of flavor, and that doesn't do it for me, or they're too sugary, like that artificial sugar sweetness, and the taste isn't right. And then I tried yours, and hands down, pineapple is my favorite. It is I could drink that just during the week with dinner. It doesn't taste like alcohol. It just tastes incredible. So well done.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Glad you
So
like it.
yeah, I really, really like it. The pineapple one was incredible. So we're going to get into your drinks, but tell us about you. Tell us about your story, how you got to this point, and then go into why you decided to start Kiso.
Okay, so my background is I'm a medical doctor. I'm an anaesthetist, and that's been my life for the last probably 40 years. Going through med school, then did sort of 3 or 4 years worth of sort of junior doctors type stuff, and then I managed to work hard enough and get into anaesthetics. Did my anaesthetic qualification, and was an anaesthetist for 15 years. Cutting really that out of the picture, my partner and I went up to Japan probably about half a dozen times. The very first time we went up in Japan, we were up in Niseko. We walked into a small bar called Jam Bar. We're out for a good time. These drunk Australians were walking out as we were walking in. And we're like, what are you guys drinking? Never been to Japan before, had no idea about the food or the drinks or anything like that. And they said, oh, these chūhais, got to try them. And we're like, what are chūhais? And so we just took their advice, and there was this whole menu there. And cut a long story short, we had an awesome time that night, played darts, drank about 15 chūhais. Couldn't figure out what they were. It was like this magical drink. It was a magical drink for two reasons. Firstly, when we were drinking them on the night, it was a sort of a drink that you couldn't taste the alcohol. They were fruit flavored and fruit driven. They were really clean. You could keep on drinking them, and I don't condone binge drinking, but there wasn't any reason to stop not having a good time. And then we wake up the next morning and think, gee, we felt really, really good. And it was from that point in time we were like, chūhais are a thing. And that was back in about 2015, 2016. And we just kept on going back to Japan probably another half dozen times. And then every time the sort of little chūhai thing was in the back of my head going, these drinks are not in Australia. Why aren't these drinks in Australia? Why does the world not know about them? And this is way before the sort of the seltzer tide that's hit Australia. Basically, back then, the RTD space in Australia was the sugary alco pops, the Smirnoff type things, or the Jim Beam and colas, and there wasn't anything else there. And I was kind of the opinion that I kind of wanted something different to drink that wasn't beer, that wasn't wine, and that left you feeling in pretty good shape the next morning. So that's basically the genesis of, where the whole thing started.
Yeah. And then what led you down the path to start your own alcohol company? What led you to, because you said you couldn't get them in Australia. Did you try importing them? And then if you couldn't import them, why did you say, hey, I'm going to throw my hat in the ring and start my own company? And then what was that process like?
Right. So, look, probably looking back on it, a bit of naivety and a bit of stupidity. But also, to be honest, I'd always wanted I kind of think I'm a pretty good anaesthetist. I get good outcomes. I'm safe, and I've sort of spent now 20 years giving anaesthetics to people, and I'm kind of at that. I was at that point in my life. I go, well, what next? What do I do to keep myself interested? Uh, for the next, 10 years, 15 years, whatever. And the little chūhai thing was in the back of my head, and I sat there and thought, oh, maybe just a little business idea. Maybe we just, find, as we did, we traveled to Japan for the next, 6 times. And I thought maybe we just drink all the chūhais there were in Japan, find the best couple, find the best four, five, six, and just import them and see how that goes. Uh, the problem with that was we actually made some contacts and we got sort of far enough along the road, but what we actually realised in the end that the Japanese were too polite to say no. They just kept on saying yes, and nothing happened. And then I guess that's where the naivety and not stupidity. I say stupidity because it's been an absolute ride to get the drinks to where they are now. But it's the naivety bit of where I was at. Where I sat and I thought, well, okay, we can't import them. And knowing what I know now, a lot of the Japanese cans can and look very unapproachable is probably the best word. If you know what you're looking for and you know what they are, then you know. But if you don't know what chūhais are, or you don't know the Japanese writing and all that sort of stuff, then you don't know what they are. So it's at that point in time we thought, well, sod it, let's give it a go and let's see if we can make something ourselves. Very much referencing our experiences and what we knew. And then we thought we'd give it a go. But behind that, there was a lot of bar hopping in Japan. Pretty much trying every drink we could get our hands on, trying to figure out what they were, how they made them, what formulations they were, and it was an enormous range of, there's canned ones, there's bottled ones, there's ones on taps, there's ones on taps that you add flavorings afterwards, there's ones on taps that you don't add any flavorings at all. So just trying to figure out, and even what a lot of research went into even what the base alcohols were and why, why you A, had a good time on them, but B, why you didn't feel bad afterwards. So, look, in retrospect, there's actually quite a lot of work had gone into the basis of, well, A, what was it? And B, can we do it? And then C, how do we help us do what we wanted to do to sort of put it in a can in the end?
Yeah, yeah. And then you went out and started your own company to create your own brand. How did you go about getting the flavors right? Because that is the crucial part. Your
Yeah,
flavors are like I'm not trying to blow smoke up you or anything like that. I've tried a lot, right? And your flavors are incredible. And I've even shared some with friends of mine who you know they love it. They were blown away with the first sip because they couldn't believe that it could taste so fresh and can taste so natural while still being an alcoholic drink.
the proposition from what we wanted to do and how we wanted to make it literally came from a really selfish point of view, from my point of view, my partner's point of view. What do we want to drink? And that was literally as simple as, and I'm at an age now, I'm in my sort of early 50s where I can't drink uh, you know 30 grams of sugar per drink, can't do
Yeah,
it. I'm very happy to have a beer or two, but it just stops. I just get sort of bloaty and all that sort of stuff,
yeah,
and also love a white wine, love a red wine, but you know gee, with some wines out there, you can, they can taste good, but it's the tannins, the sulfites, the preservatives, all that sort of stuff.
mm,
And we just wanted to make a drink that very much referenced what we had experienced in Japan, that clean, sharp, refreshing, drink that didn't have all the rubbish in it, that smelt as good as it could. And also, like, we kind of, I guess we wanted to challenge the perception of what a good RTD should be. I sort of remember
mhm,
sort of 15, 20 years ago, RTD, everyone, the Alco Pops tax and all that sort of stuff. They were very much aimed at, trying to entice kids to drink, or, very much a bourbon and Coke or something. And they weren't particularly sophisticated. They weren't particularly clever. And we really wanted to be clever and also not cut corners. And by cut corners, I mean we wanted to use ingredients, products that we were very aware of where we were going to sit in the marketplace. We're not a big player. We don't have millions to throw at marketing. We're not a global player that can sit there and plonk some new drink on the market and then, they can buy ad space and shelf space and they go, well, here it is, and then everyone will buy it. So our point of view had to be, if we can compete on nothing else, we have to be able to compete on the characteristics of the drink, the flavour profile, how it smells, how it tastes, the ABV, the alcohol by volume, how strong it was, how carbonated it was, and just let the drink stand on its own 2 feet. And the thing, that I was particularly concerned about is I was very concerned about my own reputation, being an anaesthetist as well. I didn't want people to sort of do a pity buy for the drink and go, well, okay, you're starting up this new business. We're just going to go and buy it because it's, you're a mate, but it's shit. And I wanted the drink really to just stand on its own 2 feet and go, this is it. We think it's pretty good. It should smell nice. It should taste nice. And it should leave you feeling pretty good afterwards. It'll give you a buzz. And it had to be one of those things that you can't just sell something once to people and then go, right, that's it. You need to have people that sit there and go, that was a good drink. I'm going to choose that again because it's good.
Yeah, yeah. The and you really did the research into the market, not just from your own personal experience, but um, society is getting healthier, especially here in Australia. People are a lot more health conscious. They think about what they put into their body. They think about their health, their exercise. So this fits into that healthy lifestyle. And I was reading on the cans, I think it was like 89 or 90 calories per can. There's no sugar. It's
Yep.
gluten free. It's clean. Everything about it is clean. So and I've been thinking about this for quite a while, right? What do people drink who are they're health conscious? They look after what they put in their body, but they still want to go out and have a good time, right? There aren't a lot of options, right? A glass of wine is what, 200 calories?
Yeah, 150 to 200 calories, something like that, depending on what wine you choose.
Yeah,
We kind of, again, getting back to what I wanted to drink, we kind of wanted to make something selfishly that I wanted to drink. But when we actually started to make the drinks, there was no seltzer market in Australia. We had released, there was a Smirnoff had a go at one
yeah,
called Kiyomi. We had beaten them to market, even though it was just in WA, and it didn't last very long because the palate profile was wrong and the
yeah,
drink was just not great. But um, that whole tsunami of seltzers that soon followed,
yeah,
probably sort of 2 years after we released, was on the back of this whole drinking what they call better for you,
yeah.
in terms of um, we're very aware that alcohol is not. You cannot say that alcohol is good for you.
No,
Maybe a very small amount of alcohol might be good for you in very very limited amounts. But aside from that, if you are going to have a drink, we sort of are of the opinion that there are people out there for all sorts of different reasons that want to drink, a type of drink that we've made. People from sports people and jockeys and footballers and, all sorts of professional athletes that, want to have some downtime sometimes, but also can't afford to get fat or,
yeah,
or whatever. There are people with dietary proclivities like diabetics, you know, even if a diabetic was to go and drink a glass of wine, there's still sugar, there's still residual sugar in both wines, there's still lots of sugar in a lot of the other RTDs, and there's still lots of sugar in even a lot of the seltzers. There's still plenty of sugar in. Um, Other people that have lifestyle choices like vegans, and not that the gluten-free issue. There are medical people that are celiacs that can't have gluten for absolutely medical reasons, but there's also other people that don't eat gluten for not necessarily not medical reasons, but they just don't feel as good when they're eating gluten. So there's those the quad things that sort of, I guess, as I said, it comes down to what we wanted to make, but we just happened to stumble on all the things that I didn't want in my drink, just happened to be, reasonably good choices for a lot of people for all different reasons. And that turned out,
Yeah.
well.
Yeah. I mean, the age group that you're targeting is anyone from the 18 to 55s, right? Who wants, an alcoholic beverage, but don't want, are conscious about what they're putting into their body. So, there's a huge, market that you can focus on. And like you said, athletes and professionals and health conscious people. That's a huge segment of the market. And for a long time, there hasn't been anything. And even you brought up the seltzer explosion. This, if you read the labels on the cans, they're still high in sugar, and it it isn't a cleaner option where compared to what you produced is a cleaner option.
We're very much so. We released the drinks here before the seltzer wave hit, but and we're very much aware that we're playing in the seltzer space, but we're also very much aware that we're not a seltzer. We never pretend to be a seltzer, and we've absolutely made every effort to differentiate ourselves from being a seltzer. Because from our point of view, the seltzers are what the Americans have seen the Japanese do with great success, and then they've tried to have a go at it, but cut
Yeah.
some corners and do it cheaply.
Hmm.
And we kind of think it's reasonably cynical from a lot of the big players to make cheap drinks to give to the punters, where we're standing by the design of our drinks.
Yeah, yeah. And you said that you're in market, so you've got traction. You've been had a few music festivals, and I think you're about to be on the block, if we can announce that. Tell us about the milestones you've achieved so far.
Well, so our first production run was about 2019, 2020, where we ran some drinks. We made three flavors: a Japanese lemon, a yuzu, which is a Japanese mandarin, and a pomegranate. We did them, used them for market research, used them to kind of figure out who our market was, pitch it to bottle shops. We ran it in some small events. We weren't into sort of a bigger festival event space in Perth at that stage. We had then sort of progressed through the years. So our range went from 3 to 5 drinks, as you had mentioned. You love pineapple. Pineapple's our last baby. It was only born less than a year ago. And in between the first three and pineapple, we'd released a passion fruit as well. And in that time, we've sort of expanded our footprint in Perth. And we had many. I've done plenty of tasting things myself, going around bottle shops, talking to people, seeing what people drink and why they want to drink it, and all that sort of stuff. And then we've managed to get the drinks in. This will be I think it's our third year into. There's a bar restaurant down in North Fremantle called Coast. They run a series of concerts over Christmas, New Year every year, including from backing on to Boxing Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, into the Australia Day long weekend. They run 6 concerts. It's a beach bar festival. They've got about 6 different music stages, including a stage on the beach. And then our drinks have gone into there and sold very well. They have 6 different shows, everything from drum and bass, which is pretty heavy, and from when you're getting a bit old like me, it's probably not my scene, to the Triple J Hottest 100 show, and you get a lot of 18-year-olds there.
Yeah,
And so the demographics for their shows, anyone, we've seen 60-year-olds walking around with drinks in our hands. We've seen 18-year-olds walking around with lots of drinks in our hands.
yeah,
The experience I've got from Coast is that we're highly sessionable. Again, I don't mean to sort of promote binge drinking, but if people are going to make a choice, because of the nature of our drinks, people can have a couple. So from venue promoters' point of view, it sells really well. But interestingly, a lot of the kids, I'm talking about 18-year-olds, we haven't purposely pitched ourselves at the 18-year-old market. We've sort of pitched ourselves. We find that people start to catch on to our drinks at around about the age of 22, 23. Their palate sort of matures a bit. They don't like the sugar anymore. But the 18-year-olds are an interesting bunch, because if you give one of our drinks to an 18-year-old that's learning to drink, in inverted commas, a lot of them actually don't not like them, but they kind of go, well, actually, I want something sweeter. So they'll actually go for the sugary lollipop drinks. But then, interestingly, in a festival situation like that, our experience has been that they kind of go, well, even the kids go, oh, there's only a couple of them I can drink, and then they switch pretty quickly. And then on the basis of that, we've had excellent sales. Those coast concerts, the last set of concerts I mentioned, we had 42% of bar spend across all six festivals, going up against about another 10 drinks, and that included seltzers, including beer, it included vodka Red Bulls, it including house-made cocktails. So the promoters of the event were pretty happy with us.
Yeah, yeah. And then, in terms of your revenue and your growth, you've got 60% year-on-year growth. A strong presence in the west coast of Australia, and then you're raising now to make an impact into the east coast of Australia, and you've got some traction. Tell us about the traction that you have here.
So there's a couple of different arms to that. Essentially, the last 4 years has just been about improving our knowledge of our own product in Perth, making sure that it does have marketability and it will be successful in the market. Off the back of that, we are looking at expanding in the eastern states. We now have a trial with Dan Murphy's in Queensland, which will start, I think, probably August. And we're using that very much as a wedge in the door to get range nationally with one of the big two. Big two being either Coles or Endeavour, and Endeavour Group is the Dan Murphy's side of it. And the national manager for Endeavour was very happy with our drinks. He thinks they're going to go really well. And then the other side of it is that the drinks will be featured on Australia's highest rating TV show. It's called The Block. We were pretty fortunate to come across that opportunity. We were given the opportunity of sponsoring, in inverted commas, The Block, providing them some drinks. And all the contestants on The Block loved them. Even though it was in the middle of Melbourne winter, they were consumed with great gusto, and they will be featured on this upcoming season of The Block, which is pretty exciting for us.
Yeah, okay. And then how much you're looking to raise, what's the use of funds for, and then does that tail into the growth on the eastern states, and then what does that look like beyond Australia?
So we're looking at raising up to $1.5 million, up to. Funds will be used for several things. We've just taken on a general manager. He's located out of Sydney. He's been doing a lot of really good work for us with distribution in other avenues apart from Dan Murphy's. There's independent liquor retailers on the East Coast that we are pursuing heavily at the moment. We also have some options of exporting into the close Pacific region. Fiji, New Zealand, we're looking at Asia as well at the moment. In terms of the use of funds, there's a number of uses. Some staff. We're going to need increase in staff sales reps to be sort of foot soldiers on the ground, for want of a better of a term. It will go to help supporting our general manager. We're running a more intense social media campaign. One of the things that we've realised that we haven't done particularly well is improve our brand awareness. So we're putting a lot more effort into that, and actually measuring our key fundamentals and drivers and our market to better target and to better get our brand awareness out there. We'll also put some money into a production distillery here in Perth. which will be exciting as well. We have medium-term plans for um, a, a footprint outlet in Perth, but at the moment it will be as a production facility. That will do two things. Firstly, it will enable us to produce our own proprietary alcohol. Uh, that does two things. It cuts our cost base. It also enables us to expand our range outside of RTDs as well. It'll enable us to make our own proprietary gin and vodka, which we are planning to do. And it also allows us to play with and experiment with other flavours, other formulations. We're aware that for some scenes, that a 6% ABV can might be too high. So having a distillery will enable us to sort of potentially play with formulations. If you lower the ABV, it does interesting things to the flavour profile. So alcohols are a really good carrier of flavour. Um, with the terpenes and the benzene, they're the sort of the aromatic compounds that go into making flavour. And so if we drop alcohol content, then we'll need to alter some of our formulas. And so we're looking at potentially expanding our range beyond our current range, having a lower ABV to access more markets, those markets being the ones where we can't have a 6% product. And the other thing that a distillery does do is it will provide the company with a significant amount of excise relief per year, which will help with cash flow for us. And that's a federal government excise relief program that has been running. The federal government does that to try to encourage small producers into the market to offset the effect of the Diageos and the other big overseas competitors from flooding the market and dominating the market.
Yeah, yeah. And then you mentioned the tax relief. You're also getting what $500,000 in government grants, and you know,
So we've applied for a regional development grant from the WA government. That will We're reasonably confident that we'll get that. Uh, the distillery will be located in regional Western Australia.
mhm.
And that will allow us to, if we put it in regional West Australia, it won't be too far from Perth, but it'll be regional West Australia. That'll allow us to do two things. Firstly, access the grant, and secondly, it will allow us to, provide employment opportunities and training and jobs for, for regional communities, which we see that we're a part of. If we get that grant, we'll be the only distillery in the region, which is also exciting as well. So, and then we have plans to sort of, progress from there as well into a hospitality setting or a venue.
Yeah, yeah. Now, I won't take up too much more of your time. This has been really interesting for someone who has looked into the space, quite a bit. Has always thought, there's something that I would like, um, a cleaner option. You're solving that problem. Just before we go, do you want to get into the board, because you do have a quite experienced and seasoned advisory board?
Yeah, we do. So I'm part of the board, obviously. My role is really a sort of a top end strategic role. I know what the drinks are. I know what the drinks should be. I do know what the market wants and how and what it understands. We have another couple of directors. One of the directors is located in Melbourne. He has an extensive finance history over the last 20 or 30 years, including things like capital raising, corporate finance. We have a number of people on the board who also act as advisors that have had extensive industry experience in the actual alcohol market per se. One has been running hospitality venues, from startups to major groups, for 20, 25 years. And the other one has done essentially what I have done, but 15, 20 years ago, and is now um, the owner and managing director of a significant alcohol company in his own right that has, again, 15, 20 years experience and has seen all the the potholes and the problems that we hope to avoid. So having him on board is really good as well. We do have an excellent. Our general manager has been in food service and FMCG for 25 years. He's got extensive industry contacts, both on premise and off premise, including with wholesale groups as well. We have a very good social media team. Social media, I've now realised I'm a bit of a dinosaur in that space, but we have a very young, savvy social media director who looks after our content creation for us. And then we also have a more of a backroom social media person that more is involved with SEO, the way Google Analytics work, and the more technical side of marketing, social media, computing, which they sort of complement each other. So that pretty much is our team at the moment.
Yeah. Okay. Brilliant. We'll leave it at that. Thank you very much for jumping on and walking us through this. It's an exciting product. Anybody who's watching this video who wants to know more, please reach out to myself and my team. This is it's a product that's in a space that has a really good track record of acquisitions. Larger companies, step in and buy products that are doing really, really well. It has global appeal. It is a clean product in a space that's growing year on year. It's one of the. I mean, you just have to try it. Once you try it, you'll understand what we're talking about.
I
But
think I was just going to say, Dan, I think that's early on. That was half our battle. A chūhai. What's a chūhai? It's this funny thing. Well, why don't you just call yourself a seltzer? We're not a seltzer. We're a chūhai. And it really is one of those things that you can look at it and you can go 6% ABV, no sugar, gluten free, vegan. Yeah, that's okay. And then it says lemon. Well, everyone does lemon, and I'm a fan of saying, just try one of our drinks, and then you'll understand they should smell good, they should taste good, and they should be nice and clean, sharp, and refreshing. So,
yeah, yeah. Okay, perfect. Well, thank you very much for jumping on. It's great to chat to you, and I'm excited to see what you do next.
thanks. Lovely to spend the morning. Cheers.